Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet Rayne. My guest today is Leslie. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the rest of her name. I'll let her tell us in a little bit because I will chop it up really bad. But Leslie is a renowned international speaker, author, and the founder of Aligned Living and Leadership, a transformative business dedicated to empowering individuals and organizations to align with their unique strengths and unlock sustainable success. With over 2 decades of experience in human development, counseling, psychology, and marketing, Leslie integrates her expertise to help people reconnect with their true purpose, make empowered choices, and create lives that are happier, healthier, and wealthier. Don't we all need to be a little more wealthier? Welcome, Miss Leslie. She's one of our readers at the center, and we enjoy Thursdays together. We get in all kinds of trouble on Thursdays, but welcome to the show. I know this is a new avenue that you're going down, so I'm excited to hear more about it.
It is. It's a new rebrand where it's only taken me 48 years to figure out how to do it and what I want to be when I grow up. But it's really a beautiful fusion of focusing on the individual and then focusing on the team that they're a part of and then having success in the process.
I love that. I love that. And wealth and being able to see people grow and be successful. I love that as well in your coaching practice. So I know it's taken 48 years to get here, but what did you notice along the way? What drove you to kind of do this next?
I think in reflection, it's a lot about shifting the experience of failure to learning and knowing that now failure is one of my favorite parts of the learning process because it's truly where the growth and expansion happens. And I think, as human beings, we let our egos drive the bus sometimes, and we start to over-rely on the feeling of success rather than really understanding that I think being a successful human being is about embracing all the parts of us, the ones that worked out the way we expected, the ones that didn't, the people we meant to be in relationship with, the people we never thought we'd be in relationship with, and, really taking ownership for what does a successful expression of myself look like, regardless of, the system that I'm a part of.
Well, I love the fact that you're looking at really true purpose. If we think about businesses today, whether they're big businesses or small businesses, having that alignment to purpose, for years in the business world, we'd look at, corporate values and corporate purpose. But in the companies that I have experienced when I didn't do this work, but was in corporate, sometimes they hang those on the wall and they don't really live them. And the point was you had to live them. So how from a small business can we really find that purpose so that we understand that's our alignment so that we can find our success?
I think there's lots of different ways to approach it. And certainly the tools and modalities that I use, I believe in. But I am also fully transparent and tell people to do what works and leave the rest, right? So if my system of self-understanding is one that creates growth and expansion in others, I think they ought to use that one. If they use a different one that also takes them on the path of growth and expansion, then, that's the one that's aligned for them. My chosen system of self-understanding is human design. And I really believe that when we understand how we are energetically hardwired, we're able to go create a life that makes, gives us more health, joy, and abundance, which, when you said in my introduction, that's really what our birthright is as human beings, is to be happy, healthy, and wealthy. And then I think a lot of stuff shows up in the way, and we don't always feel happy, healthy, and wealthy. And, human design, for me personally and professionally, has been a great tool to really help people not only better understand themselves, but also give themselves grace for this beautiful, unique expression of humanity that each of us is. Just because something worked for someone else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me. And so how do I really identify what are those things that I need in order to connect me with my health, joy, and abundance? And then what are those things that other people need?
So share with people that have never heard of human design what that is and how that tool works and how it can help people.
In one sentence or less, I say human design is a way to bring the astrology out of the sky and into your body and into your relationships. A more expanded expression of human design is understanding that we all have an energetic blueprint, a hardwiring, kind of like this desktop that I'm having this interview on with. If I push the power button on this big box down here, my screen lights up here. And the reason that happens is because there's an energetic connection between those two pieces of equipment. The same is true for us. We all have a unique hardwiring within ourselves. And if we can really better understand what that looks like, where my strengths are naturally activated, where your strengths are naturally activated, and then what's this magical thing that happens when you and me becomes a we? Because there's this electromagnetic connection that we have as human beings that's not a whole lot different than this electromagnetic connection happening in my computer. So human design is a way to look at those energetics of self. And then I really love using human design in relationship studies for people to better understand, whether we're talking family dynamics or entrepreneur to ideal client or team dynamics in a larger business setting. It's really about how do we all show up as the most aligned versions of ourselves. And then how do we achieve whatever our collective goal is? We're individuals, but we're individuals who are part of a larger team. And being able to, orient those things in a way that feels successful is something that really lights me up.
It also sounds like if people aren't aligned, it just doesn't work. It feels uncomfortable. And understanding that has nothing to do with them. It's more of this team or this group, this dynamic isn't aligned with who they are. So then they can go and make better decisions. Is that true?
It is. Younger me played a lot of pool. And so I use the analogy of billiard balls on a table. From anywhere on the table, 8-ball can go in the corner pocket, but it depends on where that cue ball sits in order for us to figure out how to align with our goals and being able to, like I said earlier, give ourselves and other people grace when they don't show up in alignment, when they don't show up as the best version of themselves. And then maybe giving people the language and the tools to better align or realign or find another team altogether if that's really what the choice is. But, I don't think we have to leave the relationship in order to be in a better relationship. I really do believe it has to do with how we align with ourselves and the people we're in relationship with.
Because the real idea is if we lean into our strengths, if we utilize our strengths in the right way, success is going to happen. Wealth is going to happen. When we're fighting against those currents that really aren't aligned with us, that's when we struggle. And sometimes we can't see it. You talk about aligning to your energetic strengths with your goals. How can you help people do that? Where do you see that in human design? How does that come through when you look at that?
There's a lot of natural expression of who we are. And my teacher teaches, and I now teach others, right? We're each a unique, once in a lifetime cosmic event. So there's never been a you before, there'll never be a you again. So how do you show up as that best version of yourself? I think that really comes down to really understanding, where am I hardwired to show up effectively? How is my strength showing up in my energy? Does my strength show up in my identity? Does my strength show up in my ability to mentally process things? Does it show up with my connection to spirit and something larger? We've all got access to all of it, but each of us has access to it all in a very unique way. And so being able to look at the energetic blueprint, or the body graph is the tool we use in human design, and have a visual map almost to navigate through life with a bit more ease, I think is part of how it shows up, without so much effort, without so much of that frustration and disappointment you were talking about. My background is in psychology, and being able to understand how to leverage your connection with your own emotional system is another really great tool. In human design, we celebrate the pain points in life because there are cues and are clues to where we're making misaligned choices. So if you're on a business team and someone just rubs you the wrong way, it's not really their fault. It's not really your fault, but it is definitely a expression of misalignment, something that's off. And for those of us in the more spiritual realm, we can feel when the energy's off. We can walk into a room and feel when something feels a little wonky. But I think all of us have that potential to use that feedback, and being able to tune into your emotional system, whether it's personally or professionally, and then know how to better use that feedback is another, easy way for us to show up with a bit more of that, birthright. I think we especially in the Western world, we celebrate this hustle mentality, right? It's if you don't work hard, you don't deserve it. If it doesn't involve, effort, it's not worth the process. And that's just really something I'm passionate about, helping people rewrite. Our natural expression of self is meant to be ease filled. It's not meant to feel hard all the time. And certainly struggle is part of the growth process, right? When the seeds bursting forth and sprouting into this beautiful tree that will one day not be sitting in the dark of the dirt, there's struggle, right? There is work that gets done, but it doesn't have to feel hard. And I think that's a really common misconception, especially in the business world.
Yeah, it really is. I hold this belief inside that I got to clear that I don't do enough. That I'm not doing enough, that I'm not accomplishing enough, that I'm not putting out enough, which is insane, right? But it is a belief that's really buried. But you talk about accountability. I love accountability, whether it's accountability for ourselves, accountability for our business. You talk about it as an entrepreneur about accountability. What does that mean? How do we look at accountability, whether we're in it's a personal perspective or a business perspective?
I think it's really important for people to shift their understanding of accountability to its ownership. It's ownership of the consequences of your choices. And, when it's all said and done, no one else can hold us accountable. There can be punishment. There can be external consequences. There can be people who do things based on your choices. But at the end of the day, accountability is really about taking bold ownership of not only what you have done, but what you want to achieve. And I think especially as entrepreneurs, there's this extra onus of responsibility to self, because in all likelihood, there's not a whole lot of other people on the team as an entrepreneur. You are I tell people a lot of times I'm a one-woman show, which means I get all the glory, but I also am responsible for every error, screw up, and challenge that shows up in my business. And so being able to give myself not only, again, grace when those things don't show up the way that I want them to, but being courageous enough to take responsibility and ownership for, every choice that I made is actually the one that led me to this place that now feels challenging and disappointing. And how do I recreate the experience, or how do I move forward in a newly aligned way so that I can achieve that goal? Every day we wake up blessed to be a day older is an opportunity to create something new or to recreate something successful. And I think especially in business, we can get really stuck in doing the same stuff different day and not really feeling successful. So being bold enough to make new choices and take ownership over those choices and the consequences of them is how I look at accountability and how I share it with others.
Well, being bold, I love that word being bold because that can relate to a personal life, to a profession, to a career, to a business, anything. Being courageous enough to make a change instead of being Groundhog Day, where you're doing the same thing over and over again and wondering why you don't get a different result. Sometimes you have to walk through your fear to get to the other side. Sometimes you have to be really honest with yourself and your peace and all that is happening. So I love those aspects. So share with us, Leslie, some of the things that you offer if people want to come and work with you from a business perspective or even a personal level, because I know you do both.
Sure. I am a coach, a consultant, and a speaker. So sometimes it's just a matter of being in an audience and listening to this conversation from a presentation perspective or a workshop environment. But I also offer a 12-week coaching container based on the 12-week year paradigm, where the idea is we're really not giving ourselves space to mess around and not stay focused, right? In a 90-day container, every day matters. And sometimes, especially at the beginning of the year, January, we look at our 12-month annual goals and how we're going to achieve them. And then that gives us a lot of time between now and then to get distracted or fall back into those old patterns and habits. So my 12-week coaching container is really about working pointedly to achieve your goals and being accountable to your choices every single day. And I've also expanded into consulting for larger business teams, which is really about helping people in a grander scheme understand the relationship between individual strengths and group dynamics. And, I think the bigger the business, the bigger the opportunity to both be successful and feel challenged.
I love that. I love that. And if you ever want to come and see her, she's at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts in Denver on Thursday. So you can
every Thursday having fun with us, Miss Violet.
Yeah, come and have a session or a reading with her, or a coaching session. She'd love to see you, and we would love to see you at the center. Leslie, thank you for taking the time today to come and talk with us. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you, Violet. Thank you for creating this community and this space. And you are doing more than enough. So just hear that.
It's kind of the crazy thing that plays in my head. If you just did a little bit more, if you just did, and yeah, we all have our own things that really drive and block us. They're both, right? And so awareness is always key because that allows you to make changes. And just know what Leslie's talking about is awareness that allows you to make changes and create something different. And I like the courageous of taking accountability and being bold. So I think that's really awesome. For those listening or watching, thank you so much. I hope you'll like, comment, and follow us on your favorite platforms. And we hope to see you in the future on another show. But have a sacred and magical week wherever you are. And thank you so much for listening. And we hope to see you really soon.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.